The notification lit up my phone at 2:50 a.m. on a Tuesday in March. I wasn't supposed to see it, wasn't supposed to be awake, really. But our 6-month-old daughter Emma had other plans, screaming her lungs out with another ear infection. My wife Jessica had taken the night shift the previous 2 nights, so I'd insisted she sleep through this one. I was pacing our living room in Austin, Texas, bouncing Emma against my shoulder when Jessica's laptop chimed from the kitchen counter. She'd left it open again, something I'd warned her about a dozen times with a baby who loved smacking keyboards. I walked over to close it, Emma finally starting to settle against my chest. That's when I saw it. The message preview glowed on the screen. "Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about you. When can we meet again?" The sender's name was Tyler Brennan. My hand froze on the laptop lid. Tyler Brennan. Jessica's project partner from her marketing firm. The guy she'd been having late meetings with for the past 3 months. The reason she'd missed Emma's first successful night of sleep training. The excuse for why she'd worked through our anniversary dinner last month. I should have closed the laptop. Should have walked away, given her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was about work. Maybe I was reading it wrong. But I didn't close it. I clicked. The message thread opened and my world collapsed in real time. 3 months of messages, hundreds of them, each one a knife twisting deeper. Missing the taste of your lips. My husband's traveling next week. We'll have the whole afternoon. You make me feel alive again in ways I forgot were possible. I stood there, Emma asleep on my shoulder, reading message after message. They'd started their affair in December, right after the company Christmas party. The same party where Jessica had come home at 3 a.m., claiming the celebration had run long and her phone had died. I'd believed her, trusted her completely. The messages detailed everything: hotel rooms, afternoon meetings that were actually rendezvous at his apartment. They'd been together while I was home with Emma, feeding her, changing her, singing her to sleep. While I was taking paternity leave from my software engineering job to support Jessica's crucial project deadline. There were photos. Nothing explicit, thank God for small mercies, but intimate enough. Jessica in lingerie I'd never seen. Tyler's hand on her waist in what looked like a hotel room. A selfie of them in bed together, her head on his chest, both smiling like teenagers. My legs went weak. I sat down hard in one of our kitchen chairs, careful not to wake Emma. My daughter. Our daughter. The baby we'd planned for, celebrated, brought into this world together just 6 months ago. And Jessica had been doing this since Emma was 3 months old. The most recent messages were from earlier that evening, while I'd been giving Emma her bath. Jessica. He's doing the night shift. I'll delete these messages in the morning like always. Tyler. You're getting too good at this? Should I be worried? Jessica. About what? You're the one who made me remember what passion feels like. No going back now. I felt bile rise in my throat. Delete the messages in the morning like always. How many times had she done this? How many mornings had I kissed her goodbye, told her I loved her, while she was systematically erasing evidence of her betrayal? Emma stirred against my shoulder, and I realized my heart was pounding so hard she could probably feel it. I forced myself to breathe slowly. In, out, in, out. I looked at my phone. 3:15 a.m. Jessica would be up in 3 hours, would come downstairs with that sleepy smile I'd fallen in love with 9 years ago, would kiss Emma's forehead and thank me for handling the night shift. And then she'd delete these messages like she had every other morning for 3 months. Not this time. My hands shaking, I pulled out my phone and started taking photos of the screen. Every message, every photo, every damning piece of evidence. I'd worked in tech long enough to know that digital evidence could disappear in seconds. I wasn't going to let that happen. As I photographed the messages, details jumped out that made everything worse. They'd been together in our home, in our bed. Your sheets smell like you now, one message read. I can't wait until next Thursday when he's at that conference. Next Thursday. That was the React Developers Conference in Houston I'd been planning to attend for 6 months. I'd already arranged everything, paid the registration fee. Jessica had encouraged me to go, said it would be good for my career, that she could handle Emma for 2 days. She'd been planning to bring him into our home, into our bed, with our daughter sleeping down the hall. The rage that hit me was unlike anything I'd ever felt. Pure, white-hot fury that made my vision blur and my hands clench. Emma whimpered, sensing the tension in my body, and I forced myself to relax, to breathe, to think. I finished photographing everything, then carefully closed the laptop exactly as I'd found it. I carried Emma back upstairs, laid her gently in her crib, and watched her sleep for a long moment. Her tiny chest rising and falling. Her perfect little face, peaceful and innocent. Then I walked past my bedroom, where Jessica slept soundly, and went into my home office. I sat down at my desk and began forwarding all the photos to my personal email. Then, to a cloud storage account Jessica didn't know about. Then, to a USB drive I locked in my desk drawer. By 4:30 a.m., I had everything documented and backed up in 3 separate locations. By 5 a.m., I drafted an email to a divorce attorney whose name I'd found through a quick search. By 5:30 a.m., I knew exactly what I was going to do. The sun was coming up when I heard Jessica's alarm. I sat in the home office, the door cracked just enough to hear her moving around upstairs. Emma slept in her crib. I'd checked on her 20 minutes ago, her fever finally broken, breathing steady and peaceful. I'd been awake for over 24 hours. My eyes burned. My hands had stopped shaking around 4 in the morning, replaced by something colder. Something that felt like clarity. Jessica's footsteps on the stairs. The coffee maker gurgling to life. Normal morning sounds in a house that would never be normal again. I waited 5 minutes, then walked into the kitchen. She stood at the counter in her bathrobe, scrolling through her phone. Her laptop sat closed where I'd left it. She looked up and smiled, the same smile I'd loved for 9 years. You're up early. How's Emma? Fever broke around 4. I poured myself coffee, keeping my voice level. She's sleeping. Oh, thank God. Jessica set down her phone. I felt terrible leaving you to deal with that alone, but I was just so exhausted from the presentation prep. Presentation prep. Right. I sipped my coffee and said nothing. I'm going to grab a quick shower and head in early, she continued. Tyler wants to review the deck before the client call at 10. Tyler. She said his name in our kitchen like it meant nothing. Sounds important, I said. It is. This account could make my whole quarter. She kissed my cheek on her way past. You're amazing, you know that? Taking care of Emma all night so I can focus on work. I stood there holding my coffee until I heard the shower running upstairs. Then I opened her laptop. The messages were still there. She hadn't deleted them yet. That happened in the mornings, according to the pattern I documented. Usually around 6:30 a.m., right before she left for work. I took one more screenshot just to be thorough. Then I closed the laptop and went to check on Emma. At 9:15 a.m., I called my mother. Can you watch Emma this afternoon? Something came up. Of course, sweetheart. Is everything okay? It will be. The lie came easily. I'll drop her off around 1. Jessica had texted me at 8:47. Client call went great. Drinks with the team after work to celebrate. Don't wait up. Love you. I stared at that message for a long time. Love you. 2 words she'd typed while planning to meet Tyler. 2 words that used to mean something. I texted back, Congrats. Have fun. Then I opened the contact information for Amanda Reeves, the divorce attorney who'd responded to my 5:30 a.m. email. Her office had called at 8 a.m. sharp. She could see me at 2 o'clock. Amanda Reeves worked out of a renovated house near downtown Austin, all exposed brick and modern furniture that probably cost more than my car. She was maybe 45, blonde hair pulled back, wedding ring on her left hand. She shook my hand firmly and gestured to a leather chair. "Mr. Patterson, thank you for coming in." I'd given her my last name in the email. It felt strange hearing it out loud, formal and distant. "I reviewed the documentation you sent," she continued, opening a folder on her desk. "I have to say, you've been very thorough." I nodded. Couldn't speak yet. "I know this is difficult," she said, her voice gentler. "But I need to ask you some questions. First, are you certain you want to proceed with divorce? Some couples choose counseling, reconciliation." "I'm certain." She studied my face for a moment, then nodded. "All right. Let's talk about what you're looking for in terms of outcome." For the next hour, I answered questions I'd never imagined asking myself. Division of assets, custody arrangements, spousal support. Amanda took notes in a legal pad, occasionally asking for clarification, never once showing surprise or judgment. "Texas is a no-fault divorce state," she explained, "but adultery can affect property division and spousal support. The evidence you have is strong: messages, timestamps, specific locations. Do you have any witnesses?" "Not yet." "I'd recommend getting some. If you can document her with this Tyler Brennan in person, that strengthens your position considerably." I thought about the messages. The ones where Jessica mentioned meeting Tyler at their usual spot in Zilker Park, where she'd written about how romantic it was, how they could pretend to be a normal couple for an hour. "I can do that," I said. I picked Emma up from my mother's house at 5. She asked again if everything was okay, and I told her again that it would be. The lie was getting easier. At home, I fed Emma her bottle and put her down for the night. She smiled up at me, her tiny hand wrapped around my finger, and something in my chest cracked. Whatever happened next, I'd make sure she was protected. That was the only thing that mattered. At 7:23 p.m., Jessica texted, "Running late. Tyler and I are grabbing dinner to discuss the Henderson account. Be home by 10. The Henderson account. I'd heard her mention it before. A major client, very demanding, lots of late nights required. Funny how I'd never questioned it. I texted back, "No problem." Then I opened my laptop and started a new document. A diary, Amanda had suggested. Document everything: times, dates, inconsistencies in her stories. Build a timeline. I started with tonight. March 15th, 7:23 p.m. Jessica claims to be having dinner with Tyler Brennan to discuss Henderson account. Says she'll be home by 10 p.m. I'd check that claim. I'd check all of them. Over the next week, I became someone I didn't recognize. Someone who smiled at his wife over breakfast while documenting her lies. Someone who kissed her goodbye and then checked the timestamps on her messages. Someone who said, "I love you," and meant, "I'm building a case against you." The diary grew longer. March 16th, 11:47 a.m. Jessica says she's in a client meeting. Her calendar shows no meeting scheduled. Tyler Brennan posted on social media from a coffee shop downtown at 11:52 a.m. March the 17th, 6:15 p.m. Jessica claims she's working late on a presentation. I call her office line. No answer. I call her cell. She answers on the 4th ring, slightly breathless. Says she was in the bathroom. March 18th, 2:30 p.m. Jessica mentions having lunch with her friend Danielle. I text Danielle under the pretense of planning a surprise for Jessica's birthday. Danielle says she hasn't seen Jessica in over a month. That last one was the breakthrough I needed. I'd been careful with Danielle, keeping my message casual and friendly. "Hey Danielle, it's Michael. Planning a surprise dinner for Jess's birthday next month. Want to coordinate schedules? When are you two usually free?" Her response came back within minutes. "Oh, that's so sweet. But honestly, we haven't had a girls' night in forever. She's been so busy with work. Last time I saw her was probably February." February, before the affair started, according to the messages. I thanked Danielle and added the information to my diary. Then I did the same with two other friends Jessica had supposedly been seeing regularly. Same story. They hadn't seen her in months. All those girls' nights and coffee dates were fabrications. Amanda had been right. I needed witnesses. On March 20th, Jessica mentioned in passing that she was meeting Tyler at Zilker Park during her lunch break to walk through some campaign ideas in a creative environment. I called my mother to watch Emma. At 12:15 p.m., I parked 3 blocks from the main entrance to Zilker Park. I'd dressed in running clothes, a baseball cap pulled low. Just another guy out for a midday jog. I spotted them at 12:34 p.m. They sat on a bench near the trail, Jessica's head on Tyler's shoulder. He was tall, maybe 30, dark hair, wearing a suit that probably cost what I made in a week. His arm was around her waist. I took out my phone and started recording. They sat like that for maybe 5 minutes talking and laughing. Then Tyler turned her face toward his and kissed her. Not a quick peck. A real kiss, the kind that made my stomach turn over. I kept recording. When they finally pulled apart, Jessica glanced at her watch and said something. Tyler nodded. They stood, and he pulled her close again, his hands on her lower back. Another kiss. Then Jessica walked toward the parking lot, and Tyler headed in the opposite direction. I had everything I needed. The park photos were perfect. Tyler's hand on Jessica's lower back, their heads close together on the bench. The kiss, brief but unmistakable, captured at 3:47 p.m. on March 20th. I uploaded everything to 3 separate cloud accounts that night while Jessica slept upstairs. The diary entries, the screenshots, the park surveillance, all of it time-stamped, organized, backed up. Amanda had already filed the initial paperwork. We were just waiting for the right moment. That moment came on March 23rd, when Jessica announced we should have dinner with her parents. They haven't seen Emma in weeks, she said, scrolling through her phone at breakfast. Mom's been asking, maybe this Saturday? I looked up from my coffee. Sure, we could do that. Great. I'll tell them 6 o'clock. She smiled at me, that same smile I'd trusted for 9 years. It'll be nice, just family. Just family. The irony wasn't lost on me. I texted Amanda from my car during Emma's morning nap. Saturday dinner at our place. Her parents will be there. Good time? Her response came within minutes. Perfect. Maximum witnesses. I'll have the final papers ready by Friday. You sure about this approach? Completely sure. Then let's make it count. Saturday morning, Jessica was unusually cheerful. She hummed while making grocery lists, played with Emma on the living room floor, even suggested we go shopping together for dinner ingredients. I want to make that roasted chicken your mom loves, she said. The one with the lemon and rosemary. Sounds good. We spent 2 hours at Central Market. Jessica picked out vegetables, debated wine selections, chatted with the butcher about cooking times. She held Emma in the carrier, kissed her forehead, laughed when our daughter grabbed at the shopping cart handle. I watched her perform this role, devoted wife, loving mother, and felt nothing but cold clarity. At 4 o'clock, I started setting the table. Jessica had chosen our nice dishes, the wedding china we rarely used. I placed each plate carefully, folded cloth napkins, arranged the silverware with precise spacing. This looks beautiful, Jessica said, coming in from the kitchen. Thank you for helping. Of course. Her parents arrived at 6 on the dot. Richard and Patricia Summers, punctual as always. Patricia immediately went for Emma, cooing and making grandmother noises. Richard shook my hand, asked about work, commented on the smell of roasting chicken. "Something smells incredible," Patricia said, bouncing Emma gently. "Jessica, you've outdone yourself." "Michael helped," Jessica said, slipping her arm around my waist. "Team effort." I let her hold me for exactly 3 seconds before moving to check the wine. We sat down at 6:30. The chicken was perfect. Golden skin, tender meat, exactly the way my mother had taught me to make it years ago. Jessica served salad. Patricia praised the presentation. Richard poured wine. Normal. Perfectly, completely normal. I waited until everyone had food on their plates. "Actually," I said, setting down my fork, "there's something we need to discuss." Jessica looked up, still smiling. "What's that?" I pulled my phone from my pocket and opened the photo folder I'd prepared. "I wanted everyone here tonight because I think family should know the truth." The smile faltered slightly. "Michael, what are you— 3 months ago, you started sleeping with Tyler Brennan from your office." I kept my voice level, conversational. "You've been meeting him at the Hilton on Congress Avenue, at his apartment on West 6th, and in our bed while I was taking care of our daughter." Patricia's wine glass stopped halfway to her mouth. Richard's fork clattered against his plate. Jessica's face went white. That's insane. I don't know what you're—" I turned my phone toward her parents. "This is from March 20th. Zilker Park, 3:47 p.m. Jessica told me she was having lunch with her college roommate that day." I swiped to the next photo. "This is Tyler Brennan, her coworker. The man she's been having an affair with since December." "Michael, stop this." Jessica's voice shook. "You're being ridiculous. Those photos don't—" "I also have the messages from your laptop." I swiped again. "The ones you send every night and delete every morning? The ones where you discuss hotel rooms and make plans to meet while I'm at conferences? The ones where you talk about having sex in our bed?" Patricia made a small, wounded sound. Richard just stared, his face turning red. Jessica stood up, her chair scraping loudly. "You went through my private messages? You spied on me? You left your laptop open. I saw a message from Tyler at 2:47 a.m. on March 15th while I was walking Emma because she had an ear infection. You were asleep upstairs." I looked at her parents. "I documented everything after that. Every lie. Every fake meeting. Every time she said she was with friends who had no idea she was coming." "This is insane," Jessica said again, but her voice had lost its conviction. "You're having some kind of breakdown. The stress of the baby, the paternity leave. I called your friend Lauren, the one you were supposedly having dinner with on March 18th. I pulled out my diary, flipped to the marked page. She said she hasn't seen you since January. I called your college roommate, the one you were allegedly having lunch with on the 20th. She's been in Seattle for the past month visiting her sister." Richard found his voice. "Jessica, tell me this isn't true." She looked at her father, then at me, then back at her father. Her mouth opened and closed. No words came out. "I have 3 months of documentation," I continued. "Diary entries with dates and times. Screenshots backed up in multiple locations. Witness statements from friends who confirmed she lied about her whereabouts. Photos from the park. I've already filed for divorce. The papers were served to your office yesterday at 4 p.m. Jessica's eyes widened. "You— what?" "The courier left them with your assistant. You should have received them by now." She fumbled for her purse, pulled out her phone with shaking hands. I watched her scroll through messages, her face going from white to gray. "You can't just—" She looked up at me. "We have a daughter. We have a marriage. You can't just throw that away because of some misunderstanding." "It's not a misunderstanding." I stood up, walked to the hallway closet, and pulled out the suitcases I'd packed that morning. "These are your clothes, toiletries, the essentials. I'm having the rest of your things shipped to your parents' address next week." Patricia was crying now. quiet tears running down her face. Richard sat frozen, his dinner untouched. I carried the suitcases to the front door, opened it, and set them on the porch. "I've changed the locks," I said. "I've documented everything for the custody hearing. My lawyer has all the evidence. You're not welcome in this house anymore." Jessica followed me to the door, her voice rising. "You can't do this. This is my home. Emma is my daughter. Emma is my daughter, and I have 3 months of evidence showing you prioritized an affair over caring for her. You lied repeatedly. You brought your affair partner into our home. You put our family at risk." I pulled out my phone again. "I'm calling the police now to document this, to make sure there's a record that I asked you to leave and you complied." "The police?" Her voice cracked. "Michael, please. We can talk about this. We can fix this." "There's nothing to fix." I dialed 911, keeping my eyes on her. "This is Michael Patterson at 4782 Maple Ridge Drive. I need an officer to come document a domestic situation. I'm asking my wife to leave the property, and I want it on record." The dispatcher's voice was calm, professional. I answered her questions while Jessica stood in the doorway, tears streaming down her face now. "They're sending someone," I said, ending the call. "You can wait on the porch or in your car, but you're not staying in this house." Richard finally moved. He stood slowly, walked to the door, and looked at his daughter. "Get your things, Jessica." "Dad, get your things. You'll stay with us tonight." His voice was flat, empty. He turned to me. "I'm sorry, Michael. If I had known—" "You didn't know. She's very good at lying." Patricia came to the door carrying Emma, who had started fussing. She handed our daughter to me without a word, then followed her husband and daughter outside. I stood in the doorway holding Emma, watching Jessica load her suitcases into her parents' car. The police arrived 10 minutes later. I explained the situation calmly, showed them the divorce papers, confirmed that I just wanted documentation that she'd left voluntarily. The officer took notes, asked a few questions, gave me a case number. By 8:30, they were all gone. The police officers took their time documenting everything. Officer Valdez, a woman in her 40s with tired eyes, photographed the suitcases on the front lawn while her partner, Officer Kim, took statements inside. Jessica sat on the couch where she'd nursed Emma 1,000 times, mascara streaking down her face, while her mother stood behind her with one hand on her shoulder. Richard Summers hadn't moved from his position by the dining table. He stared at the printed photographs I'd laid out, his daughter kissing Tyler Brennan under the oak trees in Zilker Park, the two of them holding hands outside the Driscoll Hotel, Tyler's hand on the small of Jessica's back as they entered his apartment building on West 6th. "Mr. Patterson," Officer Kim said, notepad in hand. "Mrs. Patterson is stating she has a right to remain in the home. Can you clarify the ownership situation?" "The house is in my name only," I said. "Purchased before our marriage. I'm requesting she leave voluntarily tonight. Her belongings are packed and ready." Jessica's head snapped up. "You can't just throw me out. I have rights." "You have the right to contest this in court," Amanda Reeves said smoothly. She'd arrived 20 minutes into the police documentation, still in the black pantsuit she'd worn to her office that afternoon. "But Mr. Patterson owns this property outright. You can leave voluntarily tonight, or we can pursue a formal eviction process, which will become part of the public record and discovery in your divorce proceedings." The implication hung in the air. Jessica's firm had a morality clause in their employment contracts. I knew because she'd complained about it when they'd fired a senior account manager for an affair with a client's wife 2 years ago. Patricia Summers finally spoke. "Where is she supposed to go?" "That's not my concern," I said. The words came out flat, emotionless. She had 3 months to consider the consequences of her choices. "Michael, please." Jessica stood up, took a step toward me. "Can we just talk about this? Without everyone here? We can work through this." "No." I didn't move. We're done talking. You've been served. Your belongings are packed. The police are documenting your voluntary departure. That's all that's happening tonight. Emma started crying upstairs. The sound cut through the tension like a knife, and I saw Jessica's face crumple. I need to feed her. I've got bottles ready, I said. You're not going near her right now. She's my daughter. She's our daughter, and you'll see her according to whatever custody arrangement the court decides. I turned to Officer Valdez, who'd come back inside. Are we done here? She glanced at her partner. Officer Kim closed his notepad. We've documented everything. Mrs. Patterson, are you leaving voluntarily? Jessica looked at her parents. Richard still hadn't spoken, his face gray and drawn. Patricia's mouth was pressed into a thin line. Jessica. Richard's voice was quiet. Get your things. Daddy, now. The word carried weight I'd never heard from him before. Jessica flinched like she'd been slapped. It took 15 minutes to load her suitcases into her parents' Lexus. Jessica moved like a sleepwalker, her mother guiding her by the elbow. Richard carried the bags without looking at me, without looking at anyone. Amanda stood beside me on the front porch, her presence a silent reminder that this was legal, documented, irreversible. The neighbor's curtains twitched. Mrs. Lopez from next door stood openly in her driveway watching. I'd have to deal with that tomorrow, with all of them, with their questions and their sympathy and their gossip. But tonight, I just needed her gone. The Lexus pulled away at 10:47 p.m. The police left 5 minutes later, Officer Valdez handing me a case number and incident report. Amanda lingered. You did well, she said. Stayed calm, didn't engage emotionally. That's good. I don't feel calm. You don't have to feel it. You just have to look it. She pulled out her phone, typed something. I'm sending you the contact information for a therapist who specializes in infidelity trauma and a father's rights group that meets on Thursdays. You should go. I'm fine. You're not. But you will be. She tucked her phone away. Expect her attorney to contact me within 48 hours. Don't communicate with Jessica directly about anything except Emma's immediate care needs, and keep those exchanges to text or email only. No phone calls, no in-person conversations, everything documented. Understood. Get some sleep. Tomorrow starts the real work. After she left, I locked the front door and stood in the silent house. Emma had stopped crying, probably fell back asleep. The dining room table still held the remains of the dinner that never happened. Patricia's untouched casserole, the salad wilting in its bowl, the wine glasses I'd set out with such careful, calculated malice. I should clean up, should go check on Emma, should do 1,000 things. Instead, I sat down at the kitchen counter and opened my laptop. The blog post had been drafted for 3 days, saved in a password-protected document. Anonymous. No identifying details. Just the story, raw and unfiltered, exactly as it happened. I'd found the forum during one of Emma's 3 a.m. feeding sessions, scrolling through my phone while she dozed against my shoulder. Surviving infidelity, the header read, and beneath it, hundreds of stories like mine. Men and women who'd discovered affairs, who'd found evidence, who'd blown up their lives in the pursuit of truth. Some of the stories ended in reconciliation. Most didn't. I read the draft one more time, my finger hovering over the publish button. My wife of 9 years had an affair with her coworker for 3 months. I discovered it at 2:47 a.m. on March 15th when a message popped up on her laptop while I was holding our sick 6-month-old daughter. The cursor blinked. Waiting. I clicked publish. The post went live at 11:23 p.m. By midnight, there were 17 comments. By 1 a.m., 43. People sharing their own stories, offering advice, calling Jessica names I'd been too numb to think. A few criticized my methods: the public confrontation, the packed bags, the police documentation. I didn't care about their approval. I just needed to put the story somewhere, to make it real outside the echo chamber of my own head. At 1:30 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "This is Tyler Brennan. We need to talk." I stared at the message for a full minute. Then I blocked the number and deleted the text. At 2:15 a.m., Jessica tried to call. I let it go to voicemail, then blocked her number too. Amanda had been clear. No direct contact. At 2:47 a.m., exactly 12 hours after I'd first seen Tyler's message, I was sitting in Emma's nursery, watching her sleep in her crib. Her breathing was steady now, the ear infection finally responding to antibiotics. One tiny fist curled near her face, her mouth making small sucking motions even in sleep. "It's just us now," I whispered. "But we're going to be okay." I almost believed it. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. Another text. "Michael, it's Richard. I'm sorry, I had no idea. If you need anything, anything at all, please call me." I saved his number. Didn't respond. Wasn't sure what I'd say if I did. The house felt different now. Emptier. Like Jessica had taken up more space than I'd realized, and her absence left holes I hadn't known existed. Her coffee mug in the sink, her jacket on the coat rack, her shampoo in the shower. Tomorrow I'd pack those things too. Tomorrow I'd change the locks. Tomorrow I'd start the real work of dismantling a marriage, of building a new life from the wreckage of the old one. But tonight, I just sat in my daughter's nursery and watched her sleep, and tried not to think about the woman I'd loved for 9 years, driving away in her parents' car with everything she owned packed into 4 suitcases. At 4 a.m., I finally went to bed, alone, in a king-size mattress that suddenly felt enormous. I didn't sleep. The phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I'd blocked Jessica's number within an hour of her leaving. Blocked Tyler's pathetic attempt at contact even faster. But apparently, word had spread through the neighborhood faster than I'd anticipated. 3 text messages from people I barely knew, all variations of, "Is everything okay?" saw Jessica leaving with suitcases. I deleted them without responding. Emma needed a bottle, and my hands were steadier now than they'd been in days. It was 11:47 p.m. on March 23rd. 8 hours since Jessica walked out. The house felt different. Lighter, maybe, or just emptier. I'd spent the evening feeding Emma, changing her, singing the same lullaby my mother used to sing to me. She'd fallen asleep around 9, and I'd been sitting in the nursery ever since, watching her chest rise and fall. My laptop sat on the dresser, still open to the forum where I'd posted my story. 43 responses now. People sharing their own experiences, offering advice, telling me I'd done the right thing. One message stood out from a user named Phoenix Rising. "You're in shock right now. The real grief hits in about 3 days. Be ready for it." I closed the laptop. The doorbell rang at 6:23 a.m. on March 24th. I'd been awake for an hour, had already fed Emma, and was working on my second cup of coffee. Through the peephole, I saw a woman in her mid-50s, professionally dressed, holding a leather portfolio. "Mr. Patterson, I'm Karen Westfield, attorney representing Jessica Patterson. I have documents that require your attention." I opened the door but didn't invite her in. "You can leave them in the mailbox. I'm instructed to ensure you receive them personally." She extended a manila envelope. "Temporary custody motion. Your wife is requesting immediate shared custody of Emma, with alternating weeks beginning April 1st. My grip tightened on the doorframe. She abandoned her daughter last night. She left following a traumatic confrontation orchestrated by you, Mr. Patterson. The motion also requests you cease all contact with her family members and refrain from further public humiliation." Karen Westfield's expression remained neutral, You'll need to respond within 10 business days. I took the envelope. Tell Jessica her father texted me first. I didn't contact him. I'll relay that information. She turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I've seen the evidence your attorney submitted. This won't go the way your wife hopes it will. The door closed behind her before I could respond. Amanda Reeves called at 9:15 a.m. Michael, I just received notice of Jessica's custody motion. Don't panic. This is standard aggressive positioning. She's trying to establish herself as an equally invested parent before the divorce proceedings begin. Papers rustled in the background. How's Emma been since Jessica left? Fine, normal. She's 6 months old. She doesn't understand what's happening. Good. I need you to document everything. Every feeding, every diaper change, every time Emma wakes up at night. Create a log showing you're the primary caregiver. Do you have any texts or emails from Jessica complaining about childcare duties? I thought back through months of messages. She complained about Emma keeping her up at night. Said it was affecting her work performance. Perfect. Forward those to me. Also, I'm filing a counter motion for you to retain primary physical custody with Jessica getting supervised visitation until the divorce is finalized. Given the affair and her deception, a judge will likely side with stability for Emma. Supervised visitation? The phrase tasted bitter. She's still Emma's mother. She's also someone who maintained a 3-month affair while caring for an infant. The court will want assurance that Emma's welfare comes first. Amanda's tone softened slightly. I know this feels extreme, Michael, but we're establishing your position. Negotiation comes later. I agreed and hung up, then spent the next 2 hours forwarding every message where Jessica had complained about motherhood, every canceled plan because she needed a break, every time she'd chosen drinks with coworkers over bath time with Emma. The evidence felt like building a case against someone I'd once loved. Maybe I still did, underneath the fury. Richard Summers called at 2:34 p.m. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Richard. Michael. His voice sounded exhausted. I'm calling against Patricia's wishes. She thinks I'm betraying Jessica by maintaining contact with you. Are you? I'm maintaining contact with my granddaughter's father. A long pause. Jessica came clean about everything last night. The whole affair, the lies, all of it. Patricia wants to support her unconditionally. I can't do that. I shifted Emma to my other shoulder, her small weight grounding me. What did Jessica say? That it started as emotional support. Tyler understood the pressures of her job in ways you didn't. That it became physical in January, and she tried to end it twice but couldn't. Richard's voice cracked. She said she never meant to hurt you or Emma, that she thought she could manage both relationships without anyone getting hurt. People who don't want to hurt others don't spend 3 months in hotel rooms with their coworkers. I know. God, Michael, I know. He cleared his throat. Patricia's hiring Jessica a therapist, some woman who specializes in relationship repair and rebuilding trust. She's convinced you two can work through this for Emma's sake. There's nothing to work through. The marriage is over. I told Patricia the same thing. She's not listening. A heavy sigh. I need you to know, whatever happens with the custody arrangement, I want to stay in Emma's life. I'll respect whatever boundaries you set, but she's my granddaughter. I looked down at Emma, her tiny fist curled against my chest. You can see her any time, Richard. You didn't do anything wrong. Thank you. His relief was audible. One more thing. Tyler Brennan got fired yesterday. Someone at Jessica's firm found out about the affair and reported it to HR. There's a morality clause in their contracts about relationships between coworkers. Jessica got fired too? No, she's on administrative leave pending an investigation, but her boss apparently went to bat for her. Said she's too valuable to lose over a personal mistake. The bitterness in Richard's voice matched my own. Tyler's calling it discrimination. Says they're protecting Jessica because she's a woman. I almost laughed. He participated in an affair with a married mother and he's playing the victim? Apparently. Jessica told Patricia he's been texting her constantly, saying they need to get their stories straight before the investigation concludes. That explained Tyler's attempt to contact me. He wasn't apologizing. He was doing damage control. Richard, I need to go. Emma needs a nap. Of course. Michael, I'm sorry for all of this. The call ended, and I sat in the nursery rocker processing. Jessica on administrative leave. Tyler fired. Their affair costing him his job while she got protected by management. The Forum Post had warned me, the real grief hits in about 3 days. It hit at 4:17 a.m. on March 26th. Emma was sleeping peacefully. The house was silent. I'd spent the previous day documenting every aspect of childcare, photographing Emma's routine, creating the meticulous log Amanda requested. I'd responded to Jessica's custody motion through my attorney, filed the counter motion, and blocked 3 more attempts from mutual acquaintances to mediate between us. I'd held it together perfectly. Then I walked past the master bedroom and saw Jessica's reading glasses on the nightstand, the cheap drugstore ones she wore before bed, too vain to get prescription frames. She'd left them behind in her rush to pack. I picked them up, and something in my chest just broke open. 9 years. We'd been married 9 years. I'd held her hand in the emergency room when her appendix ruptured. She'd sat with me through my father's funeral, never leaving my side for 3 days. We'd painted the nursery together, arguing over whether gentle breeze or morning mist was the better shade of blue. She'd destroyed all of it for Tyler Brennan. For hotel rooms and deleted messages and lies so casual, she'd told them while holding our daughter. I sat on the floor of the hallway, holding those stupid reading glasses, and cried for the first time since finding the messages. Not angry tears, just grief, pure and overwhelming, for everything that was gone. Emma woke up at 4:45 a.m., her cry cutting through the silence. I wiped my face, put the glasses in the trash, and went to get my daughter. The grief could wait. She needed me more. The coffee maker gurgled its finishing cycle at 5:43 a.m. I'd been awake for 2 hours already, Emma finally sleeping soundly in her crib after another rough night. The ear infection was clearing up, but her sleep schedule remained a disaster. My phone buzzed. Amanda Reeves. Custody hearing scheduled April 12th. Karen filed motion to dismiss your supervised visitation request. Will counter. Can you meet Wednesday 2 p.m.? I typed back a confirmation, then opened my laptop. The anonymous blog I'd started 3 days ago had exploded overnight. 47,000 views, 1,200 comments. I'd titled it simply The Receipts and posted the entire timeline with evidence redacted for privacy. Photos of Jessica and Tyler in the park, blurred faces, screenshots of messages with names blocked out, a clinical, factual account of discovery and confrontation. The comments ranged from supportive to vicious to skeptical. Someone had already created a Reddit thread analyzing whether the story was real. Another commenter claimed to know Tyler's sister. A third insisted I was the villain for humiliating Jessica publicly. I closed the laptop. The anonymous validation felt hollow at 5:43 a.m., with my daughter sleeping upstairs and my marriage decomposed into legal motions. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Michael Patterson? A woman's voice, professional but uncertain. Speaking. This is Diane Foster from Channel 8 News. We received an anonymous tip about a story involving workplace affairs and professional misconduct at Vanguard Marketing. Would you be willing to comment? My stomach dropped. I have no comment. Please don't call this number again. I hung up and immediately texted Amanda. Media calling. What do I do? Her response came within seconds. Say nothing. Forward all contact info to me. This helps us actually. Shows public interest in Tyler's misconduct. 3 more calls came before 7 a.m. I let them all go to voicemail. 2 reporters, one claiming to be from a podcast about infidelity. I forwarded everything to Amanda and blocked the numbers. Emma woke at 7:15, cheerful for the first time in days. I changed her, made a bottle, settled into our morning routine. She grabbed at my face with her tiny hands, babbling nonsense syllables that sounded almost like words. For 20 minutes, the world contracted to just us. Then my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, Jessica's mother, Patricia, alone this time. She held a casserole dish. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. Patricia. I brought breakfast. She lifted the dish slightly. May I come in? This isn't a good time. Michael, please, just 10 minutes. Against my better judgment, I stepped aside. She entered, set the casserole on the kitchen counter, then turned to face me. Emma gurgled from her bouncer in the living room. Richard doesn't know I'm here, Patricia said. He told me to respect your boundaries. But I'm her mother, Michael. I need to understand. Understand what? You saw the evidence. I saw photos and messages that prove she made a terrible mistake. But 9 years of marriage, Michael. A baby. You threw her out like garbage. The anger rose sharp and immediate. She threw our marriage out when she slept with Tyler for 3 months. When she lied every single day. When she brought him into our life while I was home taking care of our daughter. People make mistakes when they're overwhelmed. Postpartum is... Don't. My voice came out harder than intended. Don't make excuses. She wasn't overwhelmed. She was calculated. She deleted messages. She coordinated alibis. She looked me in the eye every night and lied. Patricia's composure cracked slightly. What do you want me to say? That my daughter is a monster? That I should abandon her? I want you to stop showing up here trying to guilt me into taking her back. I want you to accept that she destroyed this marriage, not me. And Emma? You'll keep her from her mother? I'll keep her safe, if that means supervised visitation until Jessica proves she can prioritize our daughter over her affair partner. Then yes. Patricia's eyes hardened. Karen says you have no legal grounds for supervised visitation. Jessica's never hurt Emma. Never neglected her. Jessica chose to spend 3 months of Emma's life with another man instead of her family. That's neglect. That's vindictive. You're punishing Jessica by weaponizing Emma. The accusation hit like a physical blow. Get out. Michael, get out of my house, now. She grabbed her purse but left the casserole. At the door, she turned back. You're making a mistake. When the anger fades, you'll regret destroying this family. Jessica destroyed it. I'm just documenting the rubble. She left without another word. I locked the door and leaned against it, breathing hard. Emma had gone quiet in her bouncer, watching me with those wide blue eyes that looked exactly like Jessica's. The resemblance used to fill me with joy. Now it just hurt. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unfamiliar number with a 512 area code. This is Tyler. We need to talk. What you're doing is going to hurt everyone, including Emma. Call me. I stared at the message for a full minute, then forwarded it to Amanda without responding. Her reply? Perfect. He's panicking. Save everything he sends. Wednesday's meeting with Amanda revealed the full scope of the legal battle ahead. Karen Westfield had filed 3 motions: dismiss supervised visitation, establish 50-50 custody, and award Jessica temporary spousal support during proceedings. The spousal support won't fly, Amanda said, spreading documents across her conference table. Texas is a no-fault state, but judges have discretion. The affair, her employment situation, your documentation, it all works against her. What about custody? That's harder. Texas presumes joint custody is in the child's best interest. We need to prove Jessica's judgment is impaired enough to warrant supervision. She had an affair while I was on paternity leave caring for our daughter, which shows poor judgment in marriage, not necessarily poor judgment as a parent. We need more. I thought about Emma watching me rage at Patricia, about the nights I'd paced with her while Jessica was supposedly at work, about the messages where Jessica complained about Emma's crying interrupting her time with Tyler. I have messages where she prioritized Tyler over Emma's needs, where she complained about parenting cutting into their time together. Amanda's expression sharpened. Show me. I pulled them up on my phone. March 3rd. Can't do lunch. Emma's doctor appointment. I hate that he gets to sleep in while I deal with this. Tyler's response. Ditch it. Say you got held up at work. Jessica. Tempting. But he'd probably call to check. After this appointment, though. March 10th. Emma was up all night. I'm exhausted. Can we postpone? Tyler. Come anyway. You need a break from baby duty. That's what he's there for. Amanda photographed each message with her phone. This is good. This shows a pattern of prioritizing the affair over parental responsibilities. What else? We spent 90 minutes combing through evidence. By the end, Amanda had documented 17 instances where Jessica had either skipped, postponed, or complained about parental obligations in favor of time with Tyler. This gives us leverage, Amanda said. Not enough to guarantee supervised visitation, but enough to argue for primary custody with liberal visitation. The judge will see a mother who was disengaged during a critical bonding period. What happens at the hearing? Both sides present evidence and testimony. Karen will paint Jessica as a devoted mother who made a mistake in her marriage. We'll show a pattern of prioritizing an extramarital affair over her infant daughter's needs. The judge will decide based on Emma's best interests. And if we lose? Then Jessica gets unsupervised visitation, possibly 50-50 custody. But Michael, even if that happens, you've documented everything. If she continues this pattern, we can file for modification. I left the meeting feeling simultaneously prepared and terrified. The hearing was 19 days away. 19 days of Emma's life in limbo, of Jessica's parents pressuring me, of Tyler sending desperate messages, of reporters calling. That night, Emma went down easy at 7:30 p.m. I stood in her nursery doorway watching her sleep, this perfect tiny human who'd done nothing to deserve any of this chaos. My phone buzzed. Jessica, her first direct contact since the confrontation. I know you hate me. I understand why. But please don't use Emma to punish me. She needs her mother. We can work out reasonable custody without lawyers and courts. Please. I read it 3 times, looked at Emma sleeping peacefully, thought about Patricia's accusation that I was weaponizing our daughter. Then I thought about Jessica deleting messages every morning, about her lying for 3 months straight, about her choosing Tyler over Emma's doctor appointments. I forwarded the message to Amanda and blocked Jessica's number. Some bridges don't get rebuilt. They just burn. The custody hearing on April 12th lasted 4 hours. Jessica wore a navy dress I'd never seen before, her hair pulled back, minimal makeup. She looked exhausted. Good. The judge was a woman in her 60s named Barbara Thornton, who'd reportedly seen every custody dispute imaginable in her 30 years on the bench. She listened to Karen Westfield paint Jessica as a devoted mother who'd made a regrettable personal mistake that had no bearing on her parenting abilities. Then Amanda presented the messages. All 17 instances where Jessica had prioritized Tyler over Emma. The complaints about nighttime feedings, the skipped doctor's appointment, the text where she'd called Emma the anchor keeping me from living my life. I watched Jessica's face crumble as her own words were read aloud in court. Judge Thornton took 20 minutes to deliberate. When she returned, her expression was carved from granite, Primary physical custody to Mr. Patterson. Mrs. Patterson will have supervised visitation every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. until further review in 6 months. Pending the outcome of that review, we'll revisit the arrangement. Jessica's sob echoed through the courtroom. Patricia grabbed her daughter's hand. Richard sat 3 rows behind them, alone, his face unreadable. I walked out with Emma in her carrier, Amanda beside me, and felt nothing but hollow victory. 3 months later, in July, I sat in my backyard while Emma practiced crawling on a blanket. She'd gotten fast, determined to reach everything she wasn't supposed to have. She looked more like Jessica every day. Same blue eyes, same stubborn set to her jaw when she wanted something. The supervised visitations had continued every Saturday. Jessica showed up on time, played with Emma for 6 hours under the watchful eye of a court-appointed supervisor, then left in tears. She'd completed 8 weeks of therapy, sent me formal apologies through Amanda, asked repeatedly for unsupervised time. I denied every request. Richard called every Sunday to check on Emma. Patricia hadn't contacted me since that morning with the casserole. Jessica's firm had cleared her in their investigation. Tyler's firing stood. Her administrative leave ended. She'd apparently thrown herself into work with manic intensity. Tyler had moved to Dallas. I'd heard through mutual acquaintances that he'd called Jessica a few times trying to rekindle things. She'd blocked his number. Too little, too late. The divorce finalized in August, 1 week before Emma's first birthday. I got the house, primary custody, and no obligation for spousal support. Jessica got visitation rights and a legal document that would follow her forever. On Emma's birthday, I threw a small party. My mother, my sister, Richard. I'd invited Patricia through Richard. She declined. Jessica had her supervised visit that morning, gave Emma a stuffed giraffe, and left before the party started. Emma smashed cake into her face while Richard took photos, smiling for the first time since March. My mother hugged me and whispered, "You did the right thing." I wasn't sure I believed her. The 6-month review hearing in October changed nothing. Jessica had completed therapy, maintained stable employment, shown up for every visitation. Karen argued passionately for unsupervised time. Amanda presented evidence that Jessica had missed 2 scheduled visits due to work emergencies and had been 30 minutes late to 3 others. Judge Thornton extended supervised visitation another 6 months. I watched Jessica break down in the courthouse hallway, Patricia finally there to hold her, and felt the first crack in my resolve. Not regret exactly, just weariness. Emma was walking now, saying "Dada" and "Mama" with equal enthusiasm. She'd point at photos of Jessica between visits, recognition lighting her face. She didn't understand why Mama only came on Saturdays, why a stranger sat in the corner watching them play. That night, Richard called. "She's not the same person, Michael. The affair broke something in her too." "Good," I said. But the word felt hollow. "I'm not asking you to forgive her. I'm asking you to consider what's best for Emma. A mother who sees her daughter 6 hours a week under supervision, or a mother who's learned from her mistakes and wants to rebuild?" She had 3 months to consider what was best for Emma. She chose Tyler Brennan. And she spent 8 months paying for it. At what point is the debt settled? I didn't have an answer. In December, 9 months after the confrontation, I agreed to unsupervised visitation. 4 hours every Saturday at Jessica's apartment. No overnights. Amanda argued against it. I did it anyway. The first Saturday, I dropped Emma off and sat in my car for 3 hours, phone in hand, ready to intervene at the first sign of trouble. When I picked her up, Emma was happy, fed, clean. Jessica looked like she'd been crying, but smiled when she handed our daughter back. "Thank you," she whispered. I nodded and left. By February, we'd worked up to overnight visits twice a month. Emma adjusted better than I did. She'd come home babbling about Mama's house and the mobile Jessica had hung over the crib in her apartment. The same mobile that had hung in our nursery before I'd packed it with Jessica's things. We never spoke beyond logistics, pickup times, Emma's schedule, her allergies. The conversations were clinical, efficient, empty of everything we'd once been. One Saturday in March, exactly 1 year after I'd found the messages, Jessica asked if we could talk. We sat in her apartment living room while Emma napped in the next room. Jessica had lost weight, looked older. The sparkle I'd fallen in love with 9 years ago was gone, replaced by something quieter, sadder. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," she said. "I know I don't deserve it. But I need you to know I understand what I destroyed. Every single day I wake up and remember what I had and what I threw away. The therapy helps, but it doesn't fix it." I said nothing. I don't expect us to be friends. I don't expect anything except the chance to be Emma's mother. But if there's ever a day when you can hear a real apology, when it would mean something instead of just making you angrier, I want to give you that. "Okay," I said. We sat in silence for a moment. Emma's breathing came soft and steady through the baby monitor. "She looks so much like you," Jessica said. "Everyone says she has my eyes, but she has your determination, your focus. She's her own person. I know, I missed so much. I can't get that time back." "No, you can't." Jessica nodded, accepting the weight of that truth. "Thank you for letting me have this time now. I know you didn't have to." I stood to leave. At the door, I turned back. "I did it for Emma, not for you." "I know." 2 years after the divorce, Emma started preschool. Jessica and I attended the orientation together, sitting on opposite sides of the room but coordinating her schedule, her allergies, her emergency contacts. We'd developed a functional co-parenting relationship built on rigid boundaries and careful distance. Emma spent weekdays with me, weekends alternating between us. She had 2 bedrooms, 2 sets of toys, 2 parents who loved her but couldn't be in the same room for more than 20 minutes without the weight of history crushing the air between us. She seemed happy, adjusted. Therapists said children were resilient, that consistency mattered more than family structure. I wanted to believe them. Richard and I met for coffee once a month. Patricia had eventually reached out, apologized for her initial reaction, asked to be part of Emma's life. I'd agreed. Emma deserved her grandparents. Tyler Brennan got married in Dallas. I heard through the grapevine. Didn't care enough to feel anything about it. Jessica dated occasionally, according to Richard. Nothing serious. She'd apparently told him she didn't trust herself in relationships anymore, that the affair had revealed something broken in her character she was still trying to fix. I dated once. A woman from work, kind and uncomplicated. It lasted 3 months before I ended it. Couldn't get past the trust issues, the constant mental comparison, the fear that every late night at work was a lie. Maybe that would fade eventually. Maybe not. On Emma's 5th birthday, Jessica and I threw a joint party, the first time we'd attempted anything together since the divorce. Emma had begged for it, wanted both parents there, didn't understand why that was complicated. We managed 3 hours without incident. Smiled for photos. Coordinated cake cutting. Made small talk with other parents who had no idea about the wreckage beneath our careful civility. After everyone left, we cleaned up together in silence. Emma played in the backyard, visible through the kitchen window. "She's happy," Jessica said, watching our daughter chase butterflies. "She is. We did that at least. Kept her happy through all of this." "Yeah." Jessica rinsed a plate, set it in the dishwasher. "Do you ever think about what we could have been? If I hadn't? If things had been different?" "No," I lied. She nodded, accepting it. I think about it every day. The life we could have given her. The family we were supposed to be. That family died in March 5 years ago. This is what we have now. I know. She closed the dishwasher. For what it's worth, I really am sorry. I know it doesn't change anything, but I need you to know I mean it. I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in years. Saw the regret etched in every line of her face, the weight she carried, the price she'd paid. I know you are, I said. It just doesn't matter anymore. She left 20 minutes later. Emma waved goodbye from the porch, already asking when she'd see Mama again. Next weekend, I told her. Just like always. The moral of this story isn't complicated. Some betrayals are survivable and some aren't. Some bridges can be rebuilt, and some just need to burn so you can build something new from the ashes. Jessica made her choices. I made mine. Emma will make hers someday, when she's old enough to understand what happened to her family before she could remember it. I don't regret the divorce. Don't regret the custody fight. Don't regret any of it except the necessity of it. The fact that someone I loved could look me in the eye every day for 3 months and lie with such practiced ease. Trust, once shattered, doesn't really heal. It just scars over, and you learn to live with the scar tissue. You learn to function around the damage, to build a life that accommodates the broken places. Emma's happy. That's what matters. She has 2 parents who love her, even if those parents can barely stand to be in the same room. She has stability, consistency, security. She has what Jessica and I couldn't give her together. A childhood unmarred by the poison of a dying marriage. That's enough. It has to be.